A while ago, we wrote a book, and in the book, we described the emotional scale, where you might be depressed, you might be feeling fearful, you might be really discouraged, or you might be feeling love, you might be feeling appreciation, or something in between. You might be feeling overwhelmed or frustration. If you're feeling depressed, then revenge is a step in the right direction. If you're feeling revenge, then anger is a step in the right direction. But on this emotional scale, there are frequencies of greater and greater resistance. The worse you feel, the more resistance in the frequency, and the lower the frequency because of the resistance. So in order to explain all of this to people who are not that accustomed to even thinking in vibrational terms, we've fashioned this analogy of this vortex version of you. And we've been saying to you, we wrote a whole book about it. Get in the vortex, and then apply your effort or your thought or your vocabulary to something. Today we're taking that vortex version into something that's easier for you to understand by reminding you that there is this high-flying vortex version of all that you want. But there's also a vortex version of what you don't want. Because every time you give thought to anything, you send a vibration that precedes the actuality of it into motion. So there are all kinds of probabilities that you've set into motion. Successful ones, unsuccessful ones, happy ones, unhappy ones. In other words, you've been creating a lot of realities that you're not yet living because you've been sifting through life and you've been setting a lot of things into motion. And really, what we are saying to you today is if you will just be aware of what momentum is, and once momentum gets going, we like to describe to you, and we know you get this, you're standing at the top of the hill with your car, you're in San Francisco, a really good hill going all the way down into the bay, and your car is perched right on the crest of the hill, and it has no parking brake set, and the car is in neutral, and just for fun, you decide you're just going to nudge your car just a little bit, just to see what happens, and it begins to move ever so slowly at first. And then you remember you really like this car. And you also remember that you don't really want any negative repercussion from your car barreling down the hill. And so before it really gets going, you just step out right in front of it and you let it bump up against you and it stops. All is well. You wouldn't want to be at the bottom of the hill trying to stop that momentum, would you? So you understand that once momentum gets going, it gets more speed, it has more force, it collects more of everything that moves along with it. And so we've been telling you a story for a while. It's a story really that we get from you because sometimes it sounds to us as if you are saying, Abraham, I have fallen out of an airplane and I do not have a parachute. What do you suggest that I now do? And we like to say to you under those conditions, hang on, it'll be over in a little bit. Because there's not much that you are likely to do that's going to change that momentum. You get the sense of what we're talking about. And in like manner, sometimes you get momentum established that while it is not that critical, it's likely that nothing that you're going to do in terms of action or conversation, you're not going to talk yourself out of negative momentum. Sometimes you say, well, I want closure. Or sometimes you say, well, I just want to get to the bottom of it. And we say, there's no bottom. You cannot get to the bottom of negative momentum because attention to a subject only perpetuates it. It's only going to spin faster. It's only going to spin more. There's only going to be more momentum. And it's only going to then accomplish a wider sweep to sweep more stuff in and bring it right to you. Don't you know that? Haven't you ever been in the middle of a conversation? It's better if you find yourself at the beginning of it, but haven't you ever been in the middle of a conversation and you know that there's no way out of it? You know you're going to crash and burn before it's over. Because you can't stop the momentum. Now, this may sound odd to you coming from us, who has written book after book after book with process after process after process, all with the intent of helping you slow that momentum. But we want to say to you that while you could pivot, you got to do it early before the momentum really gets strong. While you could find a better feeling thought, you got to do it early before the momentum gets too strong. We want you to let the cornerstone of this discussion today be around the subject of momentum, because law of attraction is the momentum perpetuator. Law of attraction will gather momentum to whatever you give your attention to.